misgendering may end up becoming a crime if I lose this case. And I just called him a man because that's what he is. I'm really, really encouraged that the media have picked up on this. It seems as if my having to go to court has made them realize that there's something wrong here. It's about women and girls and children and freedom of speech. I don't want to leave a world where you can't say what you see. And I'm not backing down, Menno.
Hi everyone, here is my interview with Lotte Ingerslev. I hope I say that right, who is a Danish psychotherapist who was dragged to court by a man who thinks he's a woman.
I am a lady.
Because she wrote a blog post about him and referred to him as he, him, just like I am doing in this video right now. So who knows, he might come after me next. Around the world, a number of women have been caught up in these stupid battles of whether you can still point out the reality that a man who claims to be a woman is in fact a man.
He's a man!
We've seen cases in Norway, Brazil, Australia, Canada, in the UK, world gone mad. And the answer whether you can still call such a man, well, it depends on where you are. So this is a very important case in Denmark because it's the first time that that question is being tested in a court of law over there. And also for how free women are to campaign for women's rights. I mean, how can you defend women's rights if you can't even point out the difference between an actual woman and a man who claims to be one? When it comes to giving men legal recognition as women and women legal recognition as men, Denmark really has been ahead of the curve. Sweden, for example, introduced laws to make this possible in 1972, Germany in 1980, and the Netherlands in 1985. But Denmark did it in 1929. This was called the Act for Sterilization and Castration. Catchy. And of course, one of the most famous early transsexuals was Lily Elbe, who was the subject of the movie The Danish Girl.
The fact is, I believe that I'm a woman.
He had a number of surgeries in 1930 and died as a result of the fourth surgery in 1931. And he was the first Danish man to get legal recognition as a woman. In the 1950s, there was also Christine Jørgensen, an American guy who went over to Denmark to have surgery there and then named himself after the man, Jørgensen, who'd performed the surgery on him.
A 26-year-old ex-GI arrives home from Denmark where doctors converted him into a woman.
He then went back to the States and became an international sensation, like the Caitlyn Jenner of his day. In 2014, this law was changed and all requirements for a diagnosis, for surgery or hormonal interventions were dropped. So Denmark became the first European country to introduce what we know as self-ID. A man just declares himself to be a woman.
It is man.
And that's it. Done. In 2017, Denmark also decided to no longer consider gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder as a mental health issue. And in 2018, a woman who thinks she's a man won the title of Mr. Gay Denmark. Yes, really. So Denmark has kind of been a hotbed for these type of interventions and legal recognition and banging the woo-woo drum, if you like, for a long time. And that's the climate in which this man took Lotte to court. So that's a bit of background there. Before we jump in, please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment. If you don't know what to say, just say thank you, Lotte, and add a little tree emoji. The reason for that will become clear as you watch the video. And if you'd like to support my channel, you can do so monthly via Patreon, or if you prefer, send me a one-off tip via PayPal or on here via Super Thanks. All right, let's go. Hi Lotte, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good today, at least. What about you, Menno?
I'm good, but then I haven't been through the sort of hearing that you have. When was that? Was it last week?
It was August 12th, so that would be Tuesday last week, or
Yeah, what is it today? 21st.
losing
Okay,
track of dates. Is it two weeks now?
almost 2
Must be
weeks.
almost 2 weeks.
Yeah. Right, we'll get into what that day was like for you a bit later into the conversation. But first, I wanted to have a look at Denmark itself and the history of basically being able to change your legal sex, because Denmark was a bit of a front runner by a mile, really, compared to other countries. Because in Denmark, they made that possible in 1929.
Wow. I didn't even know that date, actually.
1929. And that act was called the Act on Sterilization and Castration.
Okay. Yeah.
Because in those days, like, in all those other countries that introduced it, you had to be sterilized. And then in 2014, that's when they were the first European country to introduce self-ID, the idea that a man can just say, I'm a woman.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a diagnosis of anything. You don't need to have had any surgeries or hormonal interventions, nothing. You just make a declaration, and then you have a 6-month reflection period. And that's it. You're a woman. So this goes back, well, nearly 100 years. And there's no distinction between, the man that you're dealing with, of full-on indulging in a fetish, I guess, for him, and yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
completely crazy. But I've never ever said that his gender identity is based on a fetish. I've just said that he has made fetish content. So
right. Again, we'll get into that in a bit. So much to look forward to. And now you're finding yourself in a situation where you can't even refer to such a man as a man.
Well, I do it anyway.
Like this conversation that we're having, can he even use that against you?
Maybe.
And this is how giving a man legal status of woman reinforces his delusions and entitlement. This is what Jacobson posted on Instagram. 3 years have passed since I got my passport, the first physical ID that shows my real sex. Take note of the F. In spite of that, and despite the state and everyone else acknowledging who I am, I still have to see people online daily claim that I am not a woman because I was not born with a uterus and ovaries. But you know what? Those idiots can my ass. I know who I am, and so does everyone that matters.
But there was something interesting in Denmark. Maybe it was last year or the year before, where there was I think it was the Danish Minister for Equality at the time. I don't know if they're still in that role, who said there are only two sexes.
Det er min opfattelse, at køn er biologisk funderet. Og der grundlæggende er to køn, en kvinde og en mand. Til det biologiske køn knytter sig socialt og kulturelt betingede kønsroller, normer og forventninger til henholdsvis piger og drenge, kvinder og mænd. Jeg er også enig i, at kvinden defineres som et voksen menneske af hunkøn. Spørger vil også gerne vide, hvorvidt en potentiel uoverensstemmelse mellem det faktiske køn og den selvoplevede kønsidentitet ændrer vores biologiske køn. Det mener jeg ikke er tilfældet.
Yeah, she was the Minister of Equality, I think.
Yeah. And there was a reaction against that. She was called intersex phobic and transphobic. What happened with that? Did she sort of back down, or did she
No,
go,
she was sort of transferred to Minister for Europe in a way, or
Oh, handy.
She just got moved on in a way.
Okay. When I saw that, I thought, oh, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
So in terms of the Danish law, like in the British Equality Act, there are two separate characteristics, one to cover sex and one to cover all the gender stuff, and we call it gender reassignment. What's that like in Denmark?
What do you mean specifically?
Like,
I mean, in this equality law, you can actually discriminate against men with a female gender, but you don't have to. So for instance, in the Danish fitness chain Pure Gym that you've also got in the UK, right? They give men access to women's changing rooms if they got legal sex as women or legal
Yeah.
female gender. Yeah. If they have the official stamp, as it were.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And this man that's
Because-
gone after you, does he have the official stamp?
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Right,
got
okay.
a legal gender change.
So this is the same as with Roxy Tickle in Australia. The
Yeah.
law recognizes him as a woman, and
Mhm.
therefore it makes no distinction between him and Sel Grover.
I am a woman. End of story.
Yeah. It's just that it's a little muddled because you can discriminate against men who've changed their gender to female, but you don't have to, right? So
Right.
that leaves women with men in changing rooms.
Yeah. And this is how you sort of initially came across this man, I guess.
Yeah.
There was like a sports body that
Mhm.
he got involved with
Yeah.
to draft some kind of new guidelines on inclusion.
Yeah. It was the Danish Football or Soccer Association.
You came across that. You wrote a blog post about it.
Uh-huh. That was on March 6th, 2024.
2024, right? So almost a year and a half ago. So you wrote a blog post, and what was your message in the blog post?
Well, my message was basically that a man who had made fetish content and shamed women on Twitter, women who are critical of the transgender agenda, should not be a member of a working group that decides who gets access to women's changing rooms. And actually, in these recommendations that the Danish Football Association had made, it said that the problem could be solved with a curtain dividing men from women in the women's changing rooms. I mean, I call them men, right? They call them transgender women.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
naive.
A curtain, but they could claim that even the curtain would be a form of segregation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he was in that working group, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And is
Didn't
that
make any
because
sense.
he has expertise in sports?
Well, I'm not going to go into that. He plays volleyball, I think. But anyway, his expertise, I think, also came from him being a very influential trans activist who has met with the Danish health minister and the Danish equality minister, and he has advised the Danish health authority on the treatment of gender dysphoria, and he's on the board of several associations for trans people.
Right. So this is, he takes this very serious, pushing all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I don't know what he actually said in the working group. It's the fact that he was on the committee, right? When he had that fetish content that was published openly on the internet. It didn't need any login or membership. It was just there as you could compare it to YouTube for fetish content, right?
Right. And was this a particular type of fetish?
Well, can you guess which kind? Well, it was sissy porn. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a sissy porn fanatic.
Well, he made that content.
Right, who creates that content, and that probably is part of him validating himself as a woman.
I don't know, but he made the content, and he also insisted on Twitter. He insisted that he didn't get anything sexual out of presenting as a woman, and he shamed those women who were critical of the transgender agenda and basically made them unclean in a way, right? Untouchables. Right?
Yeah.
By calling them TERFs and transphobes and uber TERFs and giant TERFs, and yeah.
Right.
And he went as far as advocating for branding critics of the transgender agenda by using that extension app that's called Shinigami Eyes, where you can never get off, right? You can never appeal the decision to brand you as a transphobe, right? Which in back just a couple of years ago could get you fired, right?
Right. So he's one of these
That
guys.
that was my initial shock, that here we have a man who has participated in creating recommendations on who can gain access to women's changing rooms, and he is shaming and othering critics of these questions, these issues, right?
Yeah.
You can't really have that.
It's hardly an impartial position, is it?
No. And a man who claims that he doesn't get anything sexual out of presenting as a woman, and then we can, I mean, it was the content, you could find it on Twitter. You just stumble upon it on Twitter. Yeah, pretty crazy.
I don't get any sexual kicks out of this. Here's your video. Yeah, nothing sexual about it. Yeah, no. Unbelievable. But he sounds like he's one of these really vociferous guys who just goes after women. It's just, he's on a mission, right? We've had these activists. For example, there's a man called Morgan Auger in Canada, and this is one of the stories that sort of piqued me, I guess, early on. He went after a rape shelter in Canada because there was a man who wanted to work there, and as a counselor or something like that, and they basically said no because you're a bloke. So then Morgan Auger got on the case and lobbied the city to pull funding from this rape shelter.
Wow.
And it worked. And this was also the rape shelter where TRAs gathered and wrote "kill TERFs" on the windows and nailed a rat to the door.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of men that we're dealing with, who will just, they want it all. They want it all. There's no compromise, nothing. And one thing that this man said after you published your article, it's like the very next day, he posted something where he said, they are not going to get away with this. They're going to regret this. I will take this to the end.
Yeah. Nadia Jacobson said that, right?
Yeah.
He wrote that, yeah.
Right.
That
now, his surname is Jacobson, right? So that still says that he's the son of Jacob, right?
Yeah.
He hasn't had that changed to Jacob's daughter.
Yeah.
Right. So he basically, he saw that and he just went, right, that's it. Going after her.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, then 2 days after I published the article, my hosting provider blocked my entire blog. And I don't know anything about those things. So I thought I'd lost everything I'd ever written there, right?
Right.
It turned out that that wasn't so, but then I tried to convince them that I hadn't violated copyright, which was what they were claiming, the hosting provider. And I think I almost convinced them, but then they ended up just saying, well, it doesn't matter what you claim because the images are offensive, right?
Oh, and those were his images?
Yeah.
Right. So you included some images that he had already posted online in your blog post?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I had to document it, because I'm only me. I'm not, a media outlet or anything. So I have to document what I find. I can't just claim that I found it. Nobody would believe me because it's so
you need the receipts.
ironic. It's so paradoxical.
Yeah, the whole thing is.
Yeah. And then I tried posting the article on another hosting provider, and it was taken down after a couple hours, I think, because of complaints from trans activists. And then I tried posting another article where I wrote about what I had been subjected to from trans activists because of this blog post. And that was taken down. And then in the end, I switched to another hosting provider. But when I did that, I left out the images, not because I admitted that it was illegal, which I don't think it is, but because that was my only way of getting it out, right?
Yeah.
So instead, I described what you can see in the pictures or in the images.
Right. And did anyone pick up on that story? I think Redux picked up on it, didn't they?
Yeah.
But what about the Danish press?
No, they didn't want to talk about it.
Right. And
Yeah.
in general, what's the landscape like of the Danish press? Like, for example, in the UK, we've had, newspapers, and they write about male sex offenders as if they're women. They don't even say they're trans.
Yeah.
They just say woman arrested for, getting her penis out in the street.
Yeah. It's
Is that
basically the same in Denmark. Yeah.
right? So
But
you're
after
applicant.
the hearing here in
Mhm.
August, the media have actually covered the story.
Oh, well, I was going to say good, but
Yeah, but it's a step forward
Okay.
because they realize that this whole court case is about whether misgendering is a crime or not, because that's what Nadia Jacobsen has claimed also, that my misgendering of him again and again in the article, as he says, is a form of harassment.
Right.
And that's a serious problem if misgendering becomes harassment and becomes criminal.
Yes.
And the media has picked up on that issue.
Good, because there's a woman in Brazil. Well, she's no longer in Brazil because she can't go back. Isabella Kepa or Sepa. I don't know how you pronounce his surname, but I think this was in 2022. She referred to a male politician who claims to be a woman. She referred to him as a man because he won an election or a local election by a landslide, and then the media reported on him being the woman who
MP or something,
who got this many votes or something,
Yeah,
who won by such a majority.
Yeah.
So she then wrote something along the lines of, "Oh, well, great that the first woman to do this is actually a man." And they've been on her case ever since, to the point where they opened a criminal investigation, and she could face up to 25 years in prison, because under the law in Brazil, this would fall under something they call social racism.
Oh,
That's just how they've coded that into the Brazilian law. She then once got on a plane to go to Europe, and she was apprehended at the airport and interviewed. And then the police basically said to the airline, I don't quite understand all the ins and outs of this, but that the plane had to leave with her on it. They couldn't leave without her. And she was also told she wouldn't be able to come back. So she kind of became stateless. And she's recently been granted refugee status, asylum, in a European country. We don't know which country, to protect her. But here's a woman who basically called a man, and she's now a refugee. So I guess the good thing about it is that a European country has recognized how women are being persecuted for simply acknowledging that a man is a man, no matter what his so-called identity is. We had a feminist in Norway under investigation for saying that men can't be lesbians. There was a lesbian there who was also investigated, but for the same thing. But I think both of these investigations were dropped.
She traveled to Denmark, and she was present in court in my hearing.
She came to your hearing.
Sonja Jevjon.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. We'll get to that a bit later. There was also a woman in Australia who basically referred to a bloke who participates in women's sports, Riley J. Dennis. She referred to him as a man. They took legal action, and she lost, and then she appealed, and she's lost the appeal. And that decision just came out last week, I think. So again, we have a situation where, as a woman, you can't defend women's rights or even talk about women's rights without falling foul of the law. So this situation that obviously we're talking about Brazil, we're talking about Norway, we're talking about Australia, and now Denmark. This is an international crisis.
Yeah.
And you're bang in the middle of it now. So your article was in March 2024. He got on the case straight away.
Yeah. And trans activists also created fake reviews of my psychotherapy website. And
Oh, nice.
what is really funny in a way is that they thought that it must be my husband who had written the article. They wrote to me addressing me in my husband's name. And I didn't understand that. But then I could see on social media that they had speculated that really it couldn't be me. It must be my husband, which was really, funny.
What made them think that?
I don't know.
Is it because women have to be kind and women can't say such
I
things?
guess. Yeah. I mean, it's funny, but on the other hand, it implicated my husband, right?
Yeah,
Which is, it feels threatening.
it is. And they also doxed you, didn't they?
They did. Yeah. And got my entire blog blocked, right? Not just
Yeah.
the article, but the
Yeah.
whole blog.
This is what, so as a psychotherapist, does your professional background help you understand these men any better? I guess, because it's
Maybe.
interesting that you can't so-called misgender someone, but they can dox you, they
Mhm.
can drag your family into this.
Mhm.
It's like no holds barred. It's like
Mhm.
it's they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
To so-called retaliate. Whereas if you the wrong look or the wrong word or the
Mhm.
wrong name, bam.
Yeah. I've never really mixed my psychotherapist work into this, so I'm not gonna, really talk about what I think is, at,
Sure.
underneath the surface of this, because I also feel that in a way it feels demeaning because he's not a client of mine, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. When did you get like a notice that you had to come to court that he was going to take it?
That was in, I think, late August last year.
Right.
At first, his lawyer sent me a letter saying that he wanted me to pay 100,000 Danish kroner, which is the equivalent of 11,000 pounds or $15,000. And I also had to unpublish the entire article.
Okay.
And I, of course, refused. And I had my attorney send his attorney a letter saying that I refused. And then the next day, I received a formal summons to court.
And
And that's when the whole court case actually started. And we started writing back and forth to each other through the court.
Right. And how aware were you of similar tensions in other countries and other women that had been dragged to court over these things, or that had gone to court to say, hold on, I've been discriminated against? Like in the UK, we've had so many cases now. Were you aware of these cases?
Yeah. I've been
Right.
following them very closely. It's, Sal Grover and Giggle versus Tickle and all that.
And then
It's,
where you're like,
really
okay, now it's my turn.
scandalous. Yeah. And I'm not backing down, Menno.
Oh, that's good. That's what we need. It's the only way to turn this madness around is
Yeah. But for me, it's also a matter of free speech. It's a matter of truth. It's a matter of the ideals of the Enlightenment, and all those things are collapsing in a way right now.
yeah, and that's something that we're seeing. I think these tensions have been brewing for way too long, and now it's all coming to the surface, and we're seeing that different countries deal with it in different ways. So I guess that's why, especially for Denmark, this is such an important case.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're very determined, but when you get that letter, do you go,
Yeah, that's how it went. Yeah.
because it's a roller coaster.
Yeah. It is a roller coaster. But I've received so much support from all over the world, really, through my GoFunder and or GoFundMe. And it's just I've received so many messages saying, please don't back down.
Yeah, it's easy for others to say that, though.
Yeah.
When you're the one having to do it and putting everything on the line.
I can just tell you that I don't want to leave a world where you can't say what you see. Just like a psychotherapist, Amy Sousa, says, that we have to be able to to say what we see, right? It's the basic human right in a way.
Yeah, a metaphor that's always, or a reference that's often used is Orwell 1984. 2 + 2 is 5.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's 4.
And it's
And
not
there's
even 5 if you write it in the law, right? Doesn't make
right.
it
I
4.
mean, they can legislate that the moon is made out of cream cheese. It doesn't make
Yeah.
it so.
Mm-mm.
And then in Canada, there's also Amy Ham, who's just been fined
Yeah.
93,000 Canadian dollars.
Yeah, I saw that.
She's going to appeal it. So again, this is
It's a war on women.
it is an absolute war on women. It's a war on reality. It's a war on free speech. It's a war on all these things. So often people are like, "Oh, why do you care so much about this? How does it affect you?"
Yeah.
And whatever answer you give them, they won't accept. Oh, I just really hope that this judgment will go your way, obviously. And you found yourself a good lawyer, I assume.
Yeah, I've got a brilliant lawyer. I think she's probably the best. She even referred to J.K. Rowling in court.
Okay.
In the closing remarks, she referred back to J.K. Rowling, and she referred to Reem Al-Salem, the UN rapporteur on the violence against women and girls, and she knows all this, right? And she also knows her own stuff. So she was brilliant. It almost made me cry in court, not because it was about me, because it's about women and girls and children and freedom of speech.
Yeah. And it's, in a way, a rare opportunity for this all to play out in public, because now it's
where
all,
you have to tell the truth.
you have to tell the truth, and it's on record.
Yeah.
So it's hugely significant what happened that day.
Yeah. And Eldor Christensen was there as well.
He flew
And
out.
he was in your
from the
Brighton
UK.
Pride 2025 video, right? You were
Yes.
with
Yeah.
him in Brighton, and he gave me this pin, and it says Liberum Oratio pro mulieribus. So that must mean a freedom of speech for women. And it's got what's that tree called?
That's the Reformers tree.
Reformers tree on it. Yeah. So Elder came all the way from Iceland to Denmark just to back me up in court and sit and witness what went on.
Yeah. And I've got mine here.
Okay.
We may be in different countries and separated by quite a bit of water.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're connected here.
Uh-huh.
And I love the symbolism of the tree.
Yeah.
And it's cases like this that hopefully will help to put roots down again for women's rights, for being able to call a spade, for reality, for free speech. Tell me about what it was like going into court.
Nerve-wracking, but it had to be done, right? I felt that I got very encouraged by the fact that several media has shown up.
Okay.
I mean, that in itself was a breakthrough, because they had tried to sort of forget that this lawsuit existed, and now they didn't anymore. So that felt exhilarating in a weird way.
Did they also interview you there?
Yes, I did.
Good.
Right before I went in.
And how was that portrayed by these different media platforms? Were they objective?
Yeah, well, they used the translingo, but they were pretty objective, I felt. And it really worried them, I think. I think it worried some journalists. I talked to some journalists, right? And it seems to worry them that misgendering may end up becoming a crime.
So that's good news that at least it was covered by the press.
Yes.
Was there any attempt by this man's legal team to prevent you from calling him a man or he, him?
In court? No. They didn't ask for that. No. And I just called him a man because that's what he is, right?
Right.
We have to get back to that.
And then they basically accuse you of harassment and defamation.
Yes.
How did they make that case in court? What were their sort of core arguments?
Well, they had submitted a list of passages, 67 passages in my blog post, which is fairly long. 67 passages where I had defamed him. And as far as I can tell, the 65 of the 67 passages, the only thing that, if I look at it through his eyes, the only thing that could be defamatory is my misgendering of him. So 65 passages were about misgendering him as defamation, right? Which doesn't make any sense. It's not
Right.
illegal in Denmark to misgender, but it may become in practice illegal if I lose this case, right? And misgendering is considered harassment,
Right.
or constant misgendering, or misgendering in a certain way or in a certain context. Then
Yeah.
that will have a chilling effect on people, because they don't know whether they have misgendered in the way that will get them into legal trouble.
Yeah. And then people will just try not to
Mhm.
get into
Yeah,
trouble, I guess.
of course.
And we shouldn't have to feel that pressure.
Mhm.
Again, we should just be able to say what we see. So when I mean it was a hearing, it was one day, right?
Yeah,
Was it a
only
long
one
day?
day. It was 6 hours,
Right.
or I guess it's really only 5 hours, because there was a 1 hour lunch break.
Yeah. And when you were being cross-examined, what sort
Mhm.
of approach did they take?
I can't even remember. I
Right.
mean, I was so focused, so it's hard for me to remember, actually.
Right. But did they try to paint you as like a really nasty person? Like, for example, with the Sandy Peggy case, they tried to paint her as a racist and a homophobe, to build that sort of picture of her as a bad person. I mean, that was a trial that went on for weeks. So it's different from
Yeah, yeah. They didn't
today.
really, I really can't remember much of the cross-examination because it was so focused, you know. I mean, it's pretty daunting to have to sit in the witness chair. So I think I just kind of got so shocked that I can't remember. But
Right.
what I remember is that they didn't do a very good job. I mean, they didn't, as far as I can tell. I don't know. I just, well, in a way, I felt relieved. But I mean, I know I have the truth on my side, but I didn't feel that they got into much of what I had done or said in the cross examination. But what do I know? I just felt that. Well, I guess I just can't remember it. I can't remember all the details, at least. It's just a feeling that I got. Uh, yeah, it's like I blocked it out, but I don't think I've blocked it out. It's just interesting that I can't remember all the details.
Yeah. And what was the key argument that your lawyer made in your defense to counter the other side?
She made lots of arguments and she found all kinds of cases. So I can't even give you a summing up of that. I'm sorry. But, it's a matter of free speech and it's a matter of women's rights.
Was there did they go into distinctions, or that there should be legal distinctions between actual women and men who claim to be women like himself, even though the law regards them as women?
No, because the case was not about that. The case was about my blog post and my
Right.
defaming him and my having used his images in an unwarranted way. That was his claim, not mine.
Yeah.
My claim is that he's an influential man and he must put up with being criticized. And I must be able to voice my criticism of the Danish Football Association having chosen him to be a member of the working group that decides who gets access to women's spaces.
Yeah.
So it's more a question of whether I had the right to write the way I did and use the images I did.
Okay,
Does
okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, that's clear. And what was it like being in the courtroom with this man?
Well, in a way, I think I distanced myself because I just felt that I had to do it. So I felt that I probably just distanced myself from the whole experience in a way. I had prepared really well, and my attorney is a brilliant woman, and I was sitting right next to her, and she did most of the talking, right? And I sat right across from him because in Danish court you sit on opposing sides. I've seen in Sal Grover's case you sit facing the judge, but here we sit facing each other.
Wow, almost like the House of Commons in
Yes.
British Parliament.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just concentrated on writing notes and listening to my attorney and listening to the arguments and not, I didn't want to look him in the eye all the time.
Yeah.
It was a surreal experience. It was really surreal. And I guess I just did what I had to do. And there were a lot of women outside also demonstrating and supporting me.
Oh, good.
So that
Is-
was also very encouraging.
They were there when as you went into court?
Yes.
And what sort of, did they have signs?
Yes,
And
they had one sign. I only remember one big sign that said "Women for Freedom of Speech."
Right. And in the UK now we have quite a lively women's movement in particular, pushing back against all this stuff.
Mhm.
Is a similar thing happening in Denmark?
No, not really. I
Right.
mean, there's one group called Women's Rights. It's just called Women's Rights in Danish. I'm not a member of that. But we don't have any Let Women Speak events or anything like that.
Maybe that's a good one for Kelly J to
Yeah.
put in the diary,
Maybe.
especially with your hearing. When it was over,
Yeah.
And you came out, I guess those women were still there with their sign?
They were still there, not with
Wow.
their sign, but they had also been present inside in the courtroom.
Right.
And the media had also been inside taking, notes and so they could report from inside the court.
Yeah.
And then I did some interviews as well after.
Right. Right. So is that a whole full-on day? Interviews before you go in, 6
Yeah.
hours in court,
Yeah.
then interviews after.
Yeah.
And it's not just the day, obviously, it's the whole lead up from
Yeah.
early March last year.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot. But I just felt that I just had to do it, so I did it. It was that, I don't know how to describe it. I just did it without. It's not that I didn't think, but I just felt it had to be done, so I did it.
So the decision, I think, is going to come on September the 9th. That's what
Yeah.
they're expecting.
And it's going to be by email, or you log on to the court system, and there it is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, at noon.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since that day, have you had a sense of, is the dust sort of settling for you a little bit?
Yeah, it's been a relief. I've also done several more interviews after hearing, and but this weekend was really kind of calm.
Nice.
But yeah, it feels, in a way, it feels like an out of body experience, and I'm doing it for my children and if my potential grandchildren, so I just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Sal Grover said a similar thing where she's like, I have a daughter. I don't want her to grow up
Yeah.
in a world where as a woman you can't, or as a girl you don't have rights.
Yeah.
Basically, I think the situation in Denmark is very similar to the Netherlands, where
Right.
we had a change in our law, anti-discrimination law, our equality law. I think it was 2019, where they included things like gender identity, gender expression, and sex characteristic. but as part of sex.
Mhm.
So it's all together,
Yeah.
one blob that now means nothing.
Mhm.
Whereas in the UK, they've separated out what they call gender reassignment from sex, which is why the Supreme Court could make the decision that it did earlier this year. Whereas in the Netherlands, women basically and homosexuals have no legal leg to stand on, because you can't separate a man who claims to be a woman and has that legal recognition from an actual woman. There's no legal difference between them. And if you said, in Holland, we also had a situation with a chain of fitness clubs called Big Gym, where there was a bloke who wanted to go into the ladies. The gym said, no, you can't. They called him her and miss and all this, but they said you can't go in because they knew he still had his penis. And they wanted to keep the women's penis free. But now you can't do that because you can't discriminate on the basis of a sex characteristic. So, like, we haven't had any cases in the Netherlands to challenge this, but something's just gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
I just want to stress that in Denmark, you can actually discriminate, but you don't have to.
Right.
So,
but when you say you can discriminate, it means there is a lawful way to do it.
Yeah, you can sort of solve the problem between the parties in the specific situation, which means that the woman has to complain, right?
Right.
So she has to be the bad guy. And
The
who wants
woman
to
has
do
to be the
that?
bad guy. That's
Yeah.
That's funny.
And who wants to do that?
Right. Well, there you go. There's all these things to discourage women in particular from speaking out. That's why it's so good to see so many women go, well, no.
Yeah.
No. We're going to stand up and fight this. If this ruling goes against you and he wins, then he wants money, right? It's not like you're going to be sent to prison, I guess. He wants a big payout.
I may get a fine.
Right.
Right. A punishment in the form of a fine. And then he still wants me to pay the 100,000 Danish kroner.
On top of that.
Yeah. As compensation.
Right. For his hurt feelings.
Yeah. But I'm going to appeal, though.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to say anything different than that. Do you feel part of a support network? Or do you feel like in Denmark, do you feel quite isolated?
I don't feel isolated. I have so many people who support me on Twitter and on Facebook and other ways. And, I received these 2 huge donations also for my fundraiser. And I think I received 575 individual donations, small sums of money.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really encouraged that the media have picked up on this. It seems as if my having to go to court has made them realize that there's something wrong here, or at least that they need to cover this. I hope that is not all we need, but it's necessary that it gets out, and it gets out to people who aren't on Twitter. And so in that way, I think it's great that I have to go to court. I didn't want to, but
no, but you're now, this story is now part of the global fight back against all this.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you're here to talk to me about it. I'm so grateful that you've taken this on.
Well, I'm very thankful for the work you've done.
Yeah, but compared to what you're going through and what you're doing, it's like nothing. Like, I can't imagine what it's like to have to actually go through this and to get all the abuse. And as you say, it feels really surreal, and it's real life. And it feels like, so much is kind of stacked against you in terms of how these men are legally recognized, the media landscape there. But as you said, this case specifically is about, did you have the right to say what you said? So thank you. And I think there'll be quite a lot of viewers who Oh, they'll be in the comments. Look, anyone watching this, just say thank you, Lotte. Basically, if you leave a comment, because that's always good for the algorithm, but if you don't know what to say, just say thank you, Lotte. And leave an emoji for a tree, because that symbolizes, well, I guess it's the tree of knowledge, it's the tree of freedom, it's the tree of growth, the tree of reality, the reality tree. So thank you so much for joining me. And
thank you for having me, Minnow.
I hope until the 9th, you can kind of de-stress a bit and focus on, other things in life. And I'll keep an eye on the ruling.
Thank you.
Right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you in the next one. How do you say ciao in Danish or goodbye?
We usually actually say hi, hi.
Hi. Oh, hi. Okay. All right. We can do that. All right. So hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my PayPal and Patreon supporters. Because of you, I can make videos like this. Special shout out to my big spenders. Help Her Open, Mama Turv and the Turventines, Me Julie, The Lovely Mary, Julia, Dusty, Judels, Leffy, Dorothy, Wildfire, Esther, and Martha. Thank you.